What's up guys, welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're going to be playing the Peresmeshnik or something. I don't know what it's called. It's supposed to be a narrative-based game by Sean Arnold. It's on Steam, so I thought I'd play it. So yeah, let's get right into it. For the best experience, please use headphones. Click the top left arrow to control volume. November 9th, 1962. Your name is Vector Pavlov. You're an oceanographer aboard the Soviet frigate, the Peresmeshnik. You have been tasked with mapping the ocean floor of a region in the Arctic Sea. You are currently sitting on the cot in your personal quarters. It is a small room with just enough space for a bed and a small desk. A torn envelope lies on your desk. You are fiddling with a small silver locket containing a picture of your wife and daughter. Let's read the envelope. The envelope has been torn open without much care. There is a letter inside. Dear Vector, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I haven't seen or heard from you for months. I understand that the work that you do is important, but you should have been here. If not for me, then for Maya. She needs a father. I wanted it to be you, but you left. I know the Union needed you, but I wish you had stayed when I asked. Since you left, Leonid has been coming by more often. He's helping me raise Maya. Just the other day, she called him father. I wanted to correct her, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, because in some ways, he is her father. He's always been there, and you haven't. She is replacing you with him. I still love you, but you're losing Maya. Please come back. With love, Juliana. You grab the notebook and leave the room. You head towards the mess hall where the rest of the crew is eating dinner. When you arrive at the door, you heard loud muffled voices on the other side. You may enter whenever you are ready. Enter the mess hall. You open the door and grab some food. Tonight it is mashed potatoes and peas. You sit down at a table and open up your notebook. There's a chart of the nearby sea inside. As you look over your notes, there's a loud burst of laughter from the crew. So let's look at the chart. The charts are maps of the ocean floor that were made using sonograph. Something about the charts of this region doesn't make sense to you. In the charts, there's a large body of mass at the bottom of the ocean. That doesn't look like any natural formation you have ever seen. This alone perplexed you, but the second chart you made showed that the mass moved. To be safe, you made a third chart. In the final chart, you saw what appeared to be a chunk of mass break off from the main body. The shape of the mass doesn't look like any known animals, and there is no information on any plant-based life that can move that fast. You aren't sure if you accidentally discovered a new species of aquatic life, or if your sensors are on the fritz again. As you look over your notes, there's a loud burst of laughter from the crew. At the other table, the crew is laughing at Urinev, who has two different plates for his peas and potatoes. A bellowing laugh fills the room. You look over and see Oborev Denisevich is the resident mechanic for the Peresmeshnik, is what I'm calling it. He has been working on the Peresmeshnik for 6 years and has grown to be very fond of the ship. Once you heard him cooing at the ship's engine when you walked by the boiler room. He had a very large build, but he is very friendly. You have not talked to him much, but you could see that Oborev, something like that, was a very jovial person. The others seemed to enjoy talking to him. He is one of a kind. No one could replace him. He is grinning ear to ear. Urinev begins gesturing toward his plate. It is very simple. Pea here. Potato here. He never touched potatoes. Urinev attempts to explain anxiously. It abandoned. What's wrong with that? Or it abandoned. Yeah, an abomination. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong, Yuri. Hold up. Do you hear that? Mortar fire! Oborev flings a few potatoes into Urinev's mashed potatoes. Laka, why do you do this? I guess that's that guy's name. The room burst into laughter as Urinev scrambles to pick up the peas out of his potatoes. say that. Ah, come on, Shavak. It's all good fun. Yuri is a good guy. Albert Ray replied with a chuckle. After exchanging a few words with some of the crew, you wrap up your meal and leave the mess hall to go back to your room. When you get to your personal quarters, you sit down at your desk and begin to look over your notes and the charts of the region. After a few hours, you notice your eyelids grow heavier and heavier. You start to think about sleep. You crawl into bed and begin to fall asleep. Oh! You are awakened by a deafening scream. You clamber out of bed and rush towards the source. You arrive to find a stunned Oberev, mouth agape and eyes wide open, staring into a supply closet. Look inside. As you get closer to the closet, you are hit with a pungent smell. You slowly peer inside, and your jaw immediately drops. The walls are drenched in blood. Intestines are strewn out about the shelves like ornaments, and blood pools on the floor. One look at the intestines and you realize something terrible. It's human. You feel your stomach churn, and you stumble backwards, gagging. You lean on the wall for a support. A torrent of footsteps is heard as the other crew members arrive. After a few minutes, the entire crew is at the supply closet. You recollect yourself and begin to observe the others. Some of the crew grab Oberev, still frozen in shock, and attempt to pull him away from the scene. Others gather in small groups and begin whispering. It probably just animal, right? Think, Yuri, another crew member interjects. Does that look like an animal intestine? No! You wait for more of the crew to arrive. Soon, Captain Ramir Stepanov is the commanding officer of the Peresmeshnik. He rarely ever fraternizes with the rest of the crew and instead prefers to sit in his quarters alone, drinking the night away. Other than that, you do not know much about the captain other than he stays out of your way and you stay out of his. Well, so soon, Captain Stepanov arrives and demands an explanation. As you look at the 13 crew members around you, you notice one odd detail that stands out to you. No one is missing. The captain frowns as you explain that blood comes from a human, but no one on board seems to be missing. What's going on? How did this happen? What are you suggesting? That this is from one of us? He gestures towards the pooling blood in the supply closet. That is... You cut in briefly as he tries to dismiss you. We are only humans for miles. It could come from no one else. No one will help. What was that? The captain lets out a deep sigh and covers his face with his hands. He waits a few moments before turning to face you again. Yo, Mile. What did you suggest then? Run tests on the blood. Stepanov gives you an incredulous look. Blood test? Is this necessary? We don't have a lot of testing kits. I don't want to waste kits on a hunch. It will put the crew at ease, though. The crew is on edge. If nothing else, blood tests will let them think we have a plan of some kind. It will help put them at ease and do wonders for morale. You wait for Stepanov's response. Captain Stepanov squints as he thinks it over. After a few moments, he reluctantly nods to you and then turns to address the crew. Vector will perform tests on the blood. Until we get results, everyone will be in mess hall. As the crew heads towards the mess hall, grab a sample of the blood and head towards the medical room. You grab a blood test kit and the medical files for all the crew members. You plan to use blood type to narrow down suspects. You start the test and begin logging the blood types of each crew member. As you are doing this, the first step of the test is completed. Begin the second step. You are speculating about where the blood could have come from as you wait for the results of the test. It couldn't be Stepanov's. Who could it come from? Was it Oberev? Why was he standing there? It couldn't be Uranev's. Why was he standing there? Oh, there's the results. Okay. As soon as the test is completed, you compare it to the testing manual. The blood type is somewhat rare. A negative. You scan your notes of the crew's blood type and find that only 2 crew members have this blood type. Oberev Denisovich and Uranev Ruslanovich. Report to the mess hall. As you walk to the mess hall, you try to make sense of what you were even trying to say. If any person lost the amount of blood that was in this room, they would be dead. But you saw both Oberev and Uranev at the supply closet. It couldn't be from one of them, could it? You arrive at the door to the mess hall. You enter the mess hall to find the crew waiting for you. Some are eating breakfast, others still seem to be in shock. Captain Stepanov looks up to you as you walk in. Well, Vector, what did you find? You look around the room and spot Oberev, who is still sitting at a table, arms crossed, and staring straight ahead. Next to him is Uranev, who is eating leftovers from a plate in front of him. The plate contains both peas and potatoes. We're gonna wait a second. You notice that Uranev is eating potatoes and peas on the same plate despite his fear of food's touching. You watch him eat a few spoonfuls and are shocked to see him eat both foods in one bite. Vector, why now? He never eats food together like that. What's changed? Vector! An angry Captain Stepanov interrupts your thoughts. You look around to see the entire crew staring at you, waiting in anticipation for the results. Yuri, your peas touch potatoes and you still eat? As you speak, Oberev comes out of his daze and begins to stare at Uranev. The room is overcome with a deathly silence as the crew processes this information. Trust no one. Paranoia 19. Information. Uranev scoffs and looks around at everyone before answering. Yeah, so? So, the real Yuri has fear of food touching. He hates for peas to touch potato, Oberev exclaims. Oberev slowly stands up. Oberev's massive build looms over the much smaller Uranev as he steps forward. You're not him. You're not really Yuri. You're not my friend. Oberev lunges at Uranev, clasping his hands around Uranev's neck. The rest of the crew rushes towards Oberev to stop him. As the crew tries to pull Oberev away, Uranev lets out an earthy scream and his eyes roll into the back of his head. Uranev's body begins thrashing as a black liquid begins oozing out of his eyes. His body contorts unnaturally as it begins transforming into something not of this world. The crew backs away in fear as they watch Oberev struggle with the thrashing Uranev. After a few moments, Uranev's body goes limp. Suddenly, a tangle of jet black tentacles sprout out of Uranev's back. Some of the crew let out terrified yelps as they scrambled for the door. The creatures let out one last shriek before slashing Oberev's leg with its tentacles and scurrying off, escaping through one of the vents. The crew looks toward the vent, confounded by the horror they just witnessed. After a few moments, a crew member runs over to Oberev and begins to treat his leg. Or Oberev. There is some shouting to your left. You turn to see another crew member lying on the floor, blood spurting from his neck. A few people put him on a gurney and cart him out of the mess hall. As you come to your senses, you begin to come up with a plan. We need to evacuate. We have to abandon ship, take lifeboats, and get out of here. Captain Stepanov stares blankly ahead, almost as if in a daze. As you speak, he looks at you blankly. Slowly, he begins to shake his head. His blank expression gradually turns to anger. First off, Vector, you are not captain. I am. Second, we can't abandon ship, not because of some animal. That was not just an animal. That was a monster. It was Yuri. It replaced him. It could do it again. How do we know there isn't another one among us then, Vector? If we bring it with us, the situation is same. The blood we found was a negative. Only one here that is negative is Oberev, so we can't trust him. We take everyone but him. That may be true, but we can't leave. There are too many important charts and equipment on this ship to just abandon it. We find creature, we kill creature. That's an order. Captain Stepanov walks away, but before he leaves, he orders two crew members to follow him to his chambers. You look after him with disdain. You look around at the rest of the rooms as the captain leaves. The rest of the crew is nervously fidgeting. Some stare at others with suspicion, eyes darting back and forth, assessing who they can trust. Others are already huddling in small groups, whispering frantically while occasionally glancing nervously at others. You watch with dismay as some of the crew sneaks away. You need to act now. You know the crew's best chance at survival is to escape before the creature can replace someone else. But Captain Stepanov won't order an evacuation, Obarev is sitting in the corner, his leg has been freshly bandaged, and he is alone. What do you do? You run over to Obarev, who is laying on the ground, clutching his bleeding leg, and ask him if he can walk. He looks up at you with a grimace and replies, "It's just a scratch. It will take more than a shallow cut to take me down." Good, then let's get off this ship. With a furrowed brow, Obarev begins to speak. The captain said, "Stepanov doesn't know shit. We all die if we stay here. You saw what it did to Yuri. We stay here and we're next." Obarev is silent for a few moments. "Perhaps you are right. That thing is crafty. And I doubt it replaced Yuri because it wanted to be friends. So what do you plan to do?" "Escape on the lifeboat. Vector, the lifeboat's motor is broken. I've been working on it, but even if it weren't, you want to just leave our comrades behind?" You look around the now empty room and then turn back to Aubrey with a solemn look. "Everyone is gone. The monster could have already transformed into one of them. Our best chance was to evacuate everyone after the attack, but that chance is gone now." Obarev looks sternly at you before answering. "All right. What you say is probably true. I'm in. We don't have any paddles," Obarev chuckles somberly. "That incompetent Yuri lost them the last time we took it out, so I need tools to fix the lifeboat's engine. Follow me." Obarev walks briskly. Obarev walks briskly to his room. You follow close behind, but have trouble keeping up with him. You are amazed that he is able to walk so fast given his injury. When you enter his room, he begins rummaging for his toolkit. After searching for a moment, he faintly smiles as he pulls out a clanking bag. "Aha! Here it is. Here it is. These tools have never let me down." His smile quickly fades as you both hear a strange roar in the distance. There is another shrill scream that sounds almost human. You turn to Vector. "Time to go." You begin to head towards the lifeboat with Obarev. As you turn a corner, you notice a trail of blood that leads into a room. A look of dread overcomes Obarev's face, but he attempts to reassure you with a nod. You inch toward the door and slowly begin to peer inside. As you look inside, Obarev lets out an audible gasp. Inside the room, you see a pile of bodies in the corner of the room. Your eyes lock onto one of the bodies. You recognize him as Arthur, a young boy who worked in the kitchen. His skin is pale white and his dead eyes stare back at you. As the creature feasts on his body, his mouth hangs open. It's almost as if he was trying to scream for help. You notice the second creature walk towards the bodies and begin eating. Suddenly, you feel a tug on your shoulder as Aubrey pulls you away and begins pushing you into another room. You notice the sign on the door says Armory. Once the both of you are in the armory, Obarev locks the door behind you. "New plan. We blow the block up." His voice trembles, but not with fear. His fists are clenched, and he looks at you with determination. "They kill my friends, defile my ship. I blow them up." Obarev, or Obarev, however you want to say it, holds up an explosive charge. You look at him with concern. "Is that safe?" "Of course it is. Of course it's safe. You set charges, you get away from charges. They blow up, safe. Now let's get going." As he turns to leave, you realize that you don't have any food or medical supplies. "Wait, we need supplies." Obarev looks back at you. "That is true. Alright, you get supplies, I repair ship and arm bomb. Quickly now." You both leave the armory and head your separate ways. You rush to the kitchen and grab some emergency rations, then sprint to your room. As you run, you hear another low roar. You arrive at the door to your room. You open the door to your room. There is no one there. There is a large knife laying on top of your desk. You often use it to open lighters or carve when you were bored. You grab the knife, figuring a weapon might come in handy. You catch a glint in the corner of your eye and look to find your golden locket. It is open, and your daughter's face is smiling out at you. You pause a moment before closing the locket and stashing it in your pocket. Head towards the lifeboat. As you run, your mind begins to wonder frantically. Where is it? What if it gets me? I'm sorry, I have to make it. Where could it be? Who is it? Where is it? Where could it be? Please, don't die. How does it work? Obarev, please don't. As your mind races, you begin to seriously ponder. Where is it? Is it watching me? What if it replaces Obarev? Begin to think, what if it already got to Obarev? What if it replaced him? Will it know of your plan? Does it somehow absorb our consciousness? Or parts of it? How did it know how to communicate? How did it know how to act so human? If it absorbed some of the knowledge of its prey, it could have already gotten Oberev and be waiting for me. Even so, the lifeboat is my only escape now. The lifeboat is just around the corner now. The lifeboat is now in view. Next to the boat, Oberev is waiting. He is anxiously fidgeting with his wrench before he finally sees you. He begins to smile grimly. As you get closer, you slow down before stopping altogether. You can't help but think about how the monster can mimic anyone. What took you so long? Well, hurry on in. This ship is set to blow in 20 minutes. Oberev stops for a second and looks at you inquisitively. What is wrong? What are you saying? You think I'm that thing? Oberev sighs. I suppose you are right to think so. He pauses a moment before continuing. Not sure how to prove I am not a monster, but I can tell you, I hate that thing and will kill it. The explosives are armed. Believe me when I tell you, it will bring great pleasure to watch that son of a bitch burn in the explosion. And that is why I'm not a monster. Stab it. Don't trust it. You can't trust anyone. That's not him. Strike now. You board the ship with him. He smiles as you board the lifeboat. See, not so bad, right? Oberev looks at you with a warm smile. Now let's get going. He walks over to the release mechanism and pulls the switch. There's a loud clank of metal as the lifeboat jerks back. However, the mechanisms don't detach. Oberev's smile is quickly replaced with a panicked look. What is wrong? The release mechanisms are jammed, probably because of the cold. Yo, Mo. Oberev takes out his tools and begins working at the mechanism, locking the lifeboat in place. You hear another roar from the other side of the ship. Hurry! Shut it, Vector. I'm working as fast as I can. As he works, the sound of clanging metal echoes throughout the ship. You hear another roar. You aren't sure, but you think it was closer this time. Oberev looks back at you with a worried grin. I think we got its attention, comrade. You can do this. Keep going. Oberev turns around to keep working. 10 minutes pass by, but it feels like an eternity. You hear another roar, much closer this time. In the distance, you see a shadow. Growing ever larger, you look worriedly at Oberev. Oberev, it's coming! Just a sec. Got it. Poyakali. Whatever. Oberev jumps back into the boat. Hit that switch! In an instant, the lifeboat is released and falls violently towards the ocean water. It hits the water with a deafening smack, creating a massive splash and soaking you with ice-cold water. Oberev flicks a switch on the engine. With a roar, the engine sputters to life, and Oberev steals the boat away from the ship. A smile stretches across your face as you watch the Peresmeshnik grow smaller as you get further away. We did it. We're going to make... Boom! The Peresmeshnik is swallowed up in a fiery explosion. As your ears ring from the intense sound of the explosion, you feel something whiz past your head. You open and close your mouth rapidly, trying to fix your ringing ears. Once the ringing begins to fade away, you look up at Oberev, who is staring past you with a look of horror. Your toes suddenly feel cold and wet. Comrade, there's a leak! You look at the front of the boat and see a hole where water is gushing forth. You come to the realization that what flew past you was shrapnel from the explosion, and it must have punched a hole in the bow. The boat is sinking and you need to get to land now. There, steer towards the ice sheet. Oberev steers towards the ice as the boat starts to sink. As the boat rams into the ice sheet, you and Oberev both lurch forward. In the crash, you are knocked down to your hands and feet. Before the boat sinks, you and Oberev manage to scramble onto the icy shore. Panting, you stand up and look out at the ice sheet around you. Oberev is next to you, gasping for air. You both take a moment to catch your breath before silently nodding at each other. Where is home? Oberev points silently towards the rising sun. Without exchanging any words, you begin walking in that direction. Oberev follows closely behind. As you walk forward, you can only think of one thing. Maya, I'm coming. I won't be replaced. The end. What an amazing game, you guys. I actually like that. I don't play much narrative games anymore because they just get kind of stale sometimes, but I really like this game. It is on Steam if you guys would like to try it. Big shout out to Sean Arnold for making the game, or at least narrating it. It was a really nice game. I liked it. But with that being said, if you guys do like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. and turn on those notifications so you know every time I upload. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.